silence for folks in Texas.
Yes. Okay, let me get it out. Yeah, what I'm saying, everybody, please. Good evening. Notice was given that of the regular meeting of the Mayor and Board of Alderpersons Thursday,
Should be November 9th.
yes, but mine says October 9th. November 9th, 2017 at 6 p.m. at the courthouse in City Hall. Thank you. This is a call to order. We're going to observe a moment of silence for our local families who have, particularly for our local families who have who are grieving at this moment, and also for the victims of the church shooting in Texas and other instances that has happened. And then we're going to have an invocation led by Councilman Robert Shaw. And then we're all going to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance that's going to be led by Mayor Pro Tem Councilman Marvin Moore. So if we can all call to order.
Moment of silence, please. Lord, we just come to you now thanking you for all the blessings that you've given us, Lord. Lord, we do lift up these folks who've incurred all the damage and all the sorrow that's been given, both in Texas and in our area here. Lord, we just pray for the families of all these folks. Lift them up to you, Lord, because you are the comforter and you can comfort them. Lord, we just pray that you'd be with us now as we come together for a meeting to work on city issues and things that affect all of us. And we pray that you would help us, give us the guidance that we need as we go through this. Again, we just thank you for each one here, and we pray for safety tonight for everyone. In Christ's name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
Salute, pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ms. Goldman, roll call.
Mr. Moore?
Here.
Mr. Prater?
Here.
Mr. Shaw?
Here.
Mr. Green?
Present.
Mr. Locke?
Here.
Mayor, all present.
So we have a quorum.
Yes, sir.
Announcements? Public comments, item 4, public comments as they relate to items on the agenda.
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
Item number 12. Ricky Anderson, City of Bastrop.
Yes, sir, Mr. Anderson, thank you for coming.
Question pertaining to item number 12. It says requesting or require police security. Give me more detail in that, please.
Well, the city ordinance that was passed by a previous council requires that if a nightclub establishment or an establishment that serve alcohol operates up till 2 a.m. or past midnight, then that council and mayor, when that ordinance was passed, issued an ordinance that says that you have to have police security too, and it backs up to 10 o'clock. So I'm going to ask when this comes up. If it's coming up, I don't think it's there's not going to be any change tonight because we have to give notice and we have legal things to do. So this is not a change. This is a discussion that Mr. Maber and Mr. Rigel is asking questions tonight. So we're not acting on it, but for clarity, the mayor, when this ordinance and the Board of Aldermen decided that in Bastrop, if you can open an establishment to serve alcohol until midnight without any security, but if you go past midnight, then you have to back up to 10 p.m. with security, and that's 2 officers. And the rate is, I think, $30 an officer, so it's $60 an hour per, $30 per officer. And that's for public safety reasons, naturally. So if a club open till 1, then under the current ordinance, the club establishment, the owners would have to supply security for 3 hours, from 10 o'clock to 11, 11 to 12, 12 to 1. If they open for 2, then it's 4 hours per officer, 8 hours total. Any more questions?
Change to this issue, yes. You said require police security.
Right.
I'm not going to get into debate about that issue, but I don't think we need police officers.
Well,
in their establishment.
well, thank you for your comment, but it's established law. It's settled right now, unless it's changed. But thank you. We appreciate your comment. Any other person that want to, any individual that want to comment on anything relating to the, yes, sir.
Chris Mayberry.
And can you wait till you get to the microphone, Mr. Mayberry, and state your name?
All right. Chris Mayberry. I'm the manager of Club Prime Time.
Yes, sir.
And yeah, he just spoke upon me and Mr. Rigel
Yeah.
and our situation that we've been having with the city and with the police department.
Now you're going to get a chance at item 12 when we get down to it.
Okay, I'm just making
We're
sure.
not going to cut you out.
All right, I figured if I had to wait that long.
We said what now?
I just figured if I had to wait that long to get my.
Yes, you do. Yes, sir. Thank you. You're on the agenda. Thank you. Thank you, sir. And we're glad to have you, Mr. Mayberry. Yes. Yes, sir. Any other comments? Item 5, approve previous minutes, regular meeting held on October 12, 2017, and special meeting October 26, 2017. Gentlemen, what is your pleasure?
Mayor, I move that we adopt the resolution for the previous minutes and approve the previous minutes.
It's been moved.
Of both meetings.
Yes, sir.
I second.
Okay, it's been moved by Councilman Shaw, second by Councilman Green, that we approve the previous minutes of the regular meeting held on October 12, 2017, and the special meeting held October 28, 2017. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The motion carries, and the resolution is adopted. Item 6, Finance Committee Report, Resolution 17-1742, Bills and Claims for the month of October 2017. Councilman Shaw.
Yes, Mayor, we have reviewed the bills and claims for the month of October of 2017, and I move that we adopt this resolution and approve these bills and claims.
I second that motion, Mayor.
It's been moved by Councilman Shaw, second simultaneously by Councilman Moore and Councilman Locke, that we approve the this resolution adopting the Finance Committee report. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The item is adopted. The resolution is adopted. Item 7, Mr. Jimmy Christmas, Morehouse Activity Center. Mr. Christmas had something come up, and he regrets that he's unable. And Ms. Goldman, can we reschedule this for the next council meeting? As most of you know, we have the Morehouse Activity Center out by the fairgrounds. It is a phenomenal facility. It brings a lot of people into town. They eat at our restaurants, stay in our motels, and generate tax money. But I'm not going to try to give that presentation. We're going to wait on Mr. Christmas, but we have to be supportive of our major, of as many of our facilities and outlets as possible, and we're going to have that presentation by Mr. Christmas at the next council meeting, and regular council meeting in December. Ms. Ronita Jenkins, Ronita Jenkins Insurance Agency, LLC, Medicare. Ms. Jenkins.
Good evening, Jenkins.
Good evening.
Thank you so much for having me this evening, giving me an opportunity to discuss the group Medicare renewal with you. I think you all have in your hands the packet there. Just to tell you a little bit about that, you know, the city has a separate Medicare plan for the retirees. Just to kind of refresh a little bit what we did a few years ago, we took the employees, the retirees, and we took them and put them on a separate plan away from the group, the active group employees. And the reason that we did that, was we wanted to get that set of demographics, the older set of demographics, to take that away from the group. That helps your active employees rates when you can take that set of census and put it on another group and put it into the Medicare pool. And they actually have a cheaper rate, they have better benefits, so it actually helps your active employees, and it actually helps them because their benefits and everything are better. So that renewal happens every year in January, whereas your active employees renew every year in July. So we have our renewal this year, and I want to kind of to give you some information on some deals. Open your packet, let me just explain a little bit about what's included in there. I did a history of the rate increasing. There were some years when we got some decreases actually on our premiums. But this year when we got the renewal, I was actually a little shocked, and I don't think it's a surprise to anybody that, you know, insurance is going up across the board everywhere you have to see. Well, when I got the renewal this year, what you have there, you have two sheets that look like this. You see one has up top and it has proposed option number 2. This was actually the proposal, the renewal that we got from Vantage, our group plan is with Vantage. And it was quite a bit of difference in the benefits that we have now for our retirees. And I was really concerned, and when I got it, I called Mayor Cotton and Ms. Sandra, and we had a conversation about it. And the reason that I was concerned because the benefits were changed quite a bit. We have a very, very rich plan for our retirees, and if you'll look on this one, you'll see on there, when our retirees go into the hospital, they don't have a deductible or anything. They have a flat $150 copay. That covers everything. If they go in the hospital and they have a $300,000 bill, they pay $150. So we're very concerned. We want them to have, you know, those rich benefits. Well, the renewal that we sent, that was sent to us, if they were going to go into the hospital starting next year, they were going to have something like a $275 copay for 5 days. And we just thought about the hardship that would create on the retirees. So after discussing it with the mayor, we went down and we actually had a meeting with Vantage. We were able to meet with Dr. Jones, who's the president of Vantage, and just express our concerns about the hardship that these new benefits would have on our retirees, and to ask them to, you know, just to look at it and, you know, reconsider our current benefits. And we put it out to bid with other companies, and what you'll see on the right side of your packet is actually a letter from Humana, where they told us that they could not provide a competitive quote on our benefits, and they actually declined to quote. It's still out for bid actually with Aetna. I don't know if they'll come back with a competitive quote. I really don't expect them to, but we don't know. But it's still out there to quote with them. They haven't come back with anything yet. But Vantage did revisit our renewal. They let us keep our same benefits, and, you know, we're very grateful for that, because the new set of benefits were just going to be really hard. Our current benefits, chemotherapy, radiation, is covered at 100%. So it's important for us, for our retirees, to keep the good benefits. But if you look at the rate history, let me just go over that with you for just a minute. we went down 5.3% more, so it went down to 145.66. 2014, it went down 7.5% more, it went down to 130.72. So we've been doing really well on Medicare Advantage. 2015, it went up 1.5%, it went up to 136.78. 2016, we got 11.4% increase, so it went up to 152.34. Then in 2017, we got no increase, so it stayed at 152.34. And then in 2018, actually, they came back and
51%.
said our rate was gonna go up to 284, with a set of benefits, that were not really good. So after talking to managers and kind of, sharing with them, about, what we thought it was gonna do to our retirees and things, it actually came back with a rate increase this year of 230, but at least being able to keep our current benefits. So in that meeting, I still had some conversation with them about what can we do as a group to still help control costs. Because my mindset now is, okay, what are we gonna do for 2019? We gotta do something to try to get the costs down for 2019. So they've given a list of things that Medicare requires them to do as a carrier that helps, them to get more reimbursement, that helps them keep their costs down. So we're gonna work closely with them throughout the year with our retirees, making sure that we do our part to get like the health risk assessments done and sent back in that helps them. So we're gonna do our part with our retirees to make sure we're doing those things, to help them control costs, which can help us. So that's just kind of where we are. Mayor, if you want to care to add anything to that meeting that we had?
Yes, first I want to thank you for your leadership in this area and the fine service that you've been rendering to Bastrop. We did have a meeting. We did have a meeting with the president and Billy Justice, another significant. And the meeting went really well, but we didn't like what was being presented in total. And there's a certain amount that they're uncontrollables that we can't control, even if we did everything perfectly in our group. Much of this is uncontrollable. It has to do with the other large groups that they have, and when you lose a large group, it affects. So I don't want to get into particulars of what caused this tremendous increase, but we're doing everything we can, and I do appreciate you. It just goes to show the tremendous cost to the city. And who bears the burden of this pay, Ms. Goldman?
The city.
The city, 100%?
100% on
Of
the
this-
retirees.
Yes.
And $100 a month on a spouse.
Yes. So what we're seeing here, gentlemen, is an increase, and Ms. Goldman had provided, and I'll make sure they get the increase, because I'd asked you to, you remember
Yes,
the
sir.
report that you gave me?
Yes, sir.
So if you can share that with the councilman,
Will do.
because we did, how much more is it going to cost us in our budget? And I'm sorry, Ms. Goldman, I forgot to ask you to bring that tonight. But you will get that on what the change is, what the dollar amount of the increase is. So there's another hit to our budget, the city of Bastrop budget. I know people who think that the city of Bastrop has an unlimited amount of money and an unlimited number of jobs, but every job that we have carries with it benefits, and we're very proud of that benefit package that the city of Bastrop has for employees. We're not the best payers, but we try to make sure that our people are protected. Is there anything else you want to add, Ms. Jenkins?
No, I'm just gonna continue, working with Vantage. I know with Medicare, there's certain things that you do. It increases that company's star rating, and the higher that company's star rating is, the more reimbursements that they do, the better the benefits they are, the more things that they get offered to their clients.
Yes.
So I'm just gonna work closely with them and making sure that we're just doing our part and just kind of trying to do everything we can to be proactive for next year so that we don't, see this kind of increase next year.
Yes.
Just kind of stay
And
proactive.
their star rating actually fell a little bit, didn't it?
And
Yes.
that was one of the reasons. So overall,
Yes.
their Medicare line of business, their star rating fell. So overall, that's a hit for them on their entire book of business of Medicare.
And they're taking measures to increase that, and they're asking us to do our part. Is that correct? Okay. So we're going to translate that to our retirees and our entire, all of our employees.
Yes, and as a matter of fact, on their individual line
Yes.
of business, those premiums don't.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
On their
Yes.
individual Medicare line.
Yes,
of
ma'am.
business. So it affected every Medicare line of business.
Yes. Thank you so much. Any questions, gentlemen, for Ms. Jenkins? Any questions? Okay.
Thank y'all so much.
Thank you so much for your report. Item 9, Resolution 17-1727, a resolution of the Mayor and Board of Aldermen of the City of Bastrop, Louisiana, to authorize the mayor on behalf of the city to enter into a contract with Lewis and Ellis Incorporated to provide actuarial services for the gas GASB 45 compliant for fiscal year 2016-2017. Ms. Goldman, please.
Mayor, this is a process of our annual audit. This company's been doing it for the last 5 years. They thought at first we wouldn't have to do this, but I got an email and said that we are. It has to do with a budget entry for the audit that deals with our health insurance and our retirement. It's just an audit. It has to be totally independent. It's not something we can do. It's not something our auditor can do. But it is the law, and so we need this company to look at this and do it so that way we can finish our audit. We
Okay.
come to y'all every year. They do a great job, and they're willing to do it for the same amount as they have in the past.
I make that motion, Mayor.
Second.
It's been moved by Councilman Moore, second by Councilman Locke, that this resolution be adopted. Any questions or comments? What's your pleasure, gentlemen? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The resolution is adopted, 17-1727. Brent Killingsworth and Chris New, Vector Disease Control, Mosquito Control. Hello, sir. How you doing?
Good evening, how are y'all?
Great.
I'm Brett Killingsworth, and I work for Vector Disease Control, which we are a mosquito control contractor. And 99% of what we do is governmental work with municipalities, counties, and parishes around the country. Mayor Cotton, I spoke with you, I guess, on the phone, and you wanted to
Yes.
come in and kind of tell a little bit about what we do in our company.
Yes, sir. And the reason I asked you is because when we took office on July 1st, we asked Mr. Gray, our Public Works Director, about mosquito control, and in transition, we had looked, and I believe that we were out of the barrels of spray.
Right.
And then we had one case of West Nile virus in Morehouse Parish. And we wanted to make sure, so we expedited and did an emergency order. And gentlemen, that's what you have with this Clark Company here. You guys got that?
Yeah.
So we ordered and got on the phone with them, and they made sure that the freight trucks got the mosquito spray to us, I mean, really fast. And the freight charge was $439.55, and the order for the spray was $13,232.56. I mean, that was the order total. So the unit price per drum of this stuff is $3,198 per drum, over $3,000 per drum. So I started doing some research to find out what was the effectiveness of that spray, and I was very disappointed. And prior to, I found out people are spraying in the daytime, and that doesn't do any good, particularly, because it's got a contact, right? And so the more I studied this, the more I questioned the effectiveness of our mosquito program. The effectiveness of this chemical, was it effective? That was one of my questions. So I went out and did searches, and I was disappointed that the mosquito spray that we were using. Are you aware of what we're using?
Yeah, we don't use that, but we do use something similar.
Okay.
But I mean, The mosquito that carries the West Nile virus is a, dawn to nighttime mosquito. So
Okay.
during the daytime, it's under decks, it's in trees, and it's resting. So you'll never kill that type of mosquito during the daytime.
Okay.
It's a Culex quince mosquito, your common house mosquito. It's the one that carries the West Nile virus.
So out of all these species of mosquitoes, only a small percentage actually
Right.
carry.
Like the Zika
Yep.
carrier is a container breeder, and it's the Aedes species, Aedes albopictus type of mosquito, and it breeds in backyards, and it breeds in containers like bird baths. It breeds in children's toys and tires that are left in backyards where water is standing for over a period of time. And in its life cycle, it flies up to about 200 yards. So within where you catch that mosquito, it's flown a maximum of 200 yards.
Two football field lengths.
So usually it's bred in the backyard and it stays there, for its life cycle. The Culex mosquito, it flies up to about 3/4 of a mile. And then you have, in rice fields and stuff in the Delta, where they grow rice, it's a clean water breeding mosquito, so they breed in rice fields, and they can fly up to 15 miles. But they're not really a disease carrier, they're just a
Pest.
nuisance.
Yes. Okay. Okay. Well, your company is?
Vector disease control, and so what we do, just spraying alone is really not doing anything.
Right.
You're kind of wasting your time.
Sure.
So what we would do, and we do it for the city of Ruston, we do it for the city of Jackson, Mississippi, Hinds County, Mississippi, Rankin County, 15 different other contracts in the Arkansas Delta. We're based out of Little Rock, Arkansas. Our operations is based out of Greenville, Mississippi, where we also have a contract there.
Yeah.
But what we do is we come in and we'll set traps during the daytime. So we'll cut the city up into different,
Sectors.
zones.
Yeah.
And each zone will be approximately about 30 miles, which that's what a mosquito spray truck can spray basically in the nighttime. So we'll cut the city up into zones. We'll set a trap in each zone during the daytime. We'll let it sit overnight. We'll collect the trap the next day, collect the mosquitoes live. We'll freeze them. We'll identify them. So we'll know, if you have the, Zika mosquito or the West Nile mosquito, and then we'll test them for West Nile. So you'll know before a human gets bit whether you have West Nile in a certain area of your town. And if we get we call it a hot trap. If we get a hot trap, we know within a mile radius of that trap there is West Nile. So we'll send our trucks out, spray around that area, a mile radius around that area for 3 nights in a row to get rid of the West Nile carrying mosquito.
And in your opinion, if we are not sampling those wet areas, the ditches, the tires, the tires that's got the water in it that's breathing, if we're not sampling, in your opinion, is the program effective?
If you're not doing surveillance,
Right.
you don't know what you have.
Right.
You don't know, on the south part of town, you might catch 3,000 mosquitoes in a trap.
Right.
On the north part of town, you might catch 10. You know to carry your trucks down to the south part of town and spend most of your time working down there to try to get that under control, because you really don't have a problem in the north part of town.
So are you saying that while the truck going down the street, going, with the smoke, with the spray coming out, might be comforting to people, it might not be effective?
It's effective, but you might be spraying in a part of town, but you ain't got any mosquitoes.
Okay.
You're just wasting your money.
Yes, at $3,000 a barrel.
Yeah, it's part of our program.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, we own 300 trucks and sprayers, 12 airplanes. We spray a ton.
When do you determine whether you use your airplanes, and you guys fly twin-engine airplanes?
Trap counts and disease. If we're starting to get hot traps, we'll come to y'all and be like, look, guys, we have some hot traps over in this area of town. We
Okay.
probably need to put up a plane. Or, if we're catching 25 mosquitoes and then 2 weeks later, the same trap location, it bumps up to 500 to 1,000 mosquitoes, you might want to send a plane up.
Okay.
Just to get a knockdown on it, and then you can take over with your trucks and larviciding to get it controlled. I mean, it can get out of control.
Well, I wanted you to come up while mosquito season is kind of waning.
Right.
And so we can be thinking about this, gentleman, about a comprehensive plan to attack our mosquito problem for our public safety. We'd like to have zero incidences of West Nile and Zika and all these things. And we want to make the most of our dollars that we spend. Any questions, gentlemen, that you have?
Just, if you're not doing larvicide, if you're not doing public education,
Right.
if you're not doing surveillance, the adulticiding or the spray, really don't.
Well,
I mean, you just don't know where to spray or what,
Right.
You might be spraying in the north part of town, if you're not doing surveillance, they don't have mosquitoes, in the south part of town, they got West Nile like crazy. You just need to know what you have, what species you have, to be able to treat.
right. So the reason I wanted you to come also, because I didn't feel that we were doing anything effective.
Right.
And we weren't scientific about it. We just, crank the truck up and drive it around, basically,
Yeah.
And I thought that we need to be really, there's so much at stake here.
It's so much more than what people.
Yes, it is. It's
We got 3 PhDs.
So where do you actually test a mosquito for carrying?
We'll either send it to the state, or we have a lab, in Ruston that can do it. We have an office in Ruston. We'll probably set up shop here too, and kind of work along with the public works and kind of, we give y'all reports. It shows, we have GPS in our trucks that shows how fast our trucks are going, how much chemical we're putting out, what streaks we hit, what streaks we missed. When we spray, we'll give you reports on, if we got 15 traps in the city, we'll give you reports on each trap, what species we're catching, the total number, if we're getting any hot traps. Y'all will all get all that information on a monthly basis.
And finally, of course, I know you hear this from city after city budget. So as
I'll
you,
get you some numbers.
even if we can't afford you, I wanted the council to know that we need to make some changes in the way we do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I appreciate.
Then what I just told you is what we call an IPM program, is an integrated pest management
Right.
program. But if you wanted just to hire our guys to
Consult.
come in and set traps, and then we can get with your public works guys,
Sure.
be like, look, we're getting a lot of mosquitoes over here, we have a hot trap here, you can
Yes.
send your trucks out and spray, you don't do that. It'd
Okay.
be a lot cheaper than,
Yeah.
because when you hire us, it's turnkey, you don't spend money on chemical, drivers, trucks, anything, it's all turnkey.
Well, with the council's permission, I'd like to get some quotes and things from you for these services. Is that okay with you guys? Okay, good. We don't need a formal vote for that, do we, Ms. Goldman?
No, sir, it's just a report.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate you.
Thank you
And
very
give our
much.
regards. Okay, thanks. Okay. Item 11. Mr. Ricky Allen Anderson. Mr. Anderson, crime report. Thank you for coming, Mr. Anderson. We really appreciate you coming up.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, sir. You need something to set that on?
Yeah, I have some pass out I'd like to talk.
Yes, sir. You're welcome to use the corner of that table, Mr. Anderson, if you need it. Oh, yeah, you got that. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, thank you for allowing me to speak today. Notice down here on the agenda, you have me down crime request. I'm not requesting about crime, I'm just talking about it. Are we briefing directly to the crime? And I hope none of you board members, city council members take this personal, because it's not personal. It's about crime. And also notice, Mr. Mayor, I requested 5 minutes on the application when I filed to speak on behalf of crime.
Nobody's cutting you off, Mr. Anderson.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
First of all, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, Board of Aldermen, Mr. Mayor. I passed out handouts pertaining to 11 unsolved homicides here in the city of Bastrop. It dated back from 1998. starting with Mr. John Joseph Knight, age 64. That's 19 years ago. Found dead. Location was 739 Pierce Street. Mr. John Ray Washington, 1607 Henry Street. Found dead January 23rd, 2004, 13 years ago. Mr. Bradley Lee, 25 years old. Martin Luther King South Extension, found dead 9/25/2004, 13 years ago. Miss Peggy Henderson, 42, found dead 7/8/2005 on South End of River Street, 12 years ago. That next door to HB Allen Elementary School. Mr. Lionel Britt, 39, Summer Lane, 11/12/2013, 4 years ago. Mr. Christopher Musgrove, 48, Summer Lane, 12/27/2014, 3 years ago. Mr. Lee Atkins, 45, Jackson Street, 3/13/2015, 2 years ago. Mr. Ray Murray Lee, 15, Shady Oak, 8/17/2016. With that understanding, Mr. Mayor, Board of Aldermen, an arrest has been made through a grand jury indictment 2017 of this year. With all due respect, I believe most people involved with that. Mr. Demeriter Lott, I hope I pronounced the young man's name correctly, 25 years old, Jackson Street, 10/30/2017. Last but not least, Ms. Shea Brian, 5 years ago, 5 years old, Clara Street, 11/4/2017. Mr. Mayor, Board of Aldermen, I don't know what it is in Bastrop, Louisiana, but I'm sick and tired of these murderers walking around here, walking around here, laughing and grinning in our face, eating and passing gas at the same time. See, 19 years up until the last one, the 11/4/2017. What is the Bastrop Police Department doing here? I'm not criticizing them, but when you ask for information from the public and we call up there to try to find out what you need, then you're going to tell us you can't compromise the what? Investigation. I didn't ask how they died. I asked was this a natural cause or was this a homicide? Let's get our priorities straight here. How many police officers on the force, Mr. Mayor? That's the question I'm asking you, sir.
You want me to answer now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'm glad you asked that question. When we came into office, we had 3 officers per shift. We had a captain. We have 4 shifts that rotate. Okay, 12-hour shifts. We had 3 officers per shift, a captain, a sergeant, and a patrolman, which is not enough to cover the city of Bastrop. You would agree with that, right?
I can agree with that, sir, but that wasn't the question I asked
Well,
you.
hold on.
I asked you how many officers you got on the force.
I'm trying to answer it. I'm not rushing you. Don't rush me.
I'm rushing.
I'm not limiting your time. Okay, well, let me, I'm just trying to explain it. Okay. We had 3 officers per shift. We had, whenever an officer took off a patrolman, a captain comes back or a sergeant comes back and works in their place. So we had a tremendous overtime. So the first thing I did when I got here, I can't speak for prior administrations, Mr. Anderson. I hope you don't expect me to. But may I speak from July 1? That's all I can speak to. Hold it. Let me speak, please. You asked a question. The first
Sir,
thing.
you have not answered.
Wait, I'm trying to.
Ask for a figure.
Hold it.
You're 35 or 25
We-
officers.
we-
Move on, sir.
Chief, Assistant Chief, is Chief, Chief, I'm sorry. How many do we have on the force right now?
Commissioned police officers from the chief to the last police officer is 19.
19. How many did we have in, say, July 1st? How many less? 18. That's a new one right there, right? We've lost how many?
In that time frame, probably 2.
2. And so we've hired approximately 3 so far. If we,
Time frame, I think that's the only officer we've hired.
okay, 2, okay. And, okay. So that we've increased since I've been here, and the first thing we did was we increased our recruiting. I asked Chief Evans and Chief Campbell, and I took my administrative staff to Grambling State University.
Stop this minute right there.
Hold.
Please stop. My time is running, and I won't be able to continue my
No,
presentation.
I'm not going to cut you off, okay? Just hold on. I want to answer your question thoroughly.
You have answered my question. I want to move on, sir.
Well,
All the action
okay.
officers you got, that's it.
that's fine.
Thank you.
Okay,
With
okay.
that said, Mr. Mayor,
What I'll address that. Chief, can you give me a report after Mr.?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
with that said, Mr. Mayor, I just asked him questions.
Go ahead.
He had answered. You have 19 officers.
Yes, sir, we do.
Out of 11,365 residents in the city of Bastrop, how many people on patrol on even given shift? Can the chief answer that, sir? Three. Three
Sure.
officers
Right,
on each given shift.
right.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, Board of Aldermen, each of you chose to run for office. So each of you should take this criticism. And like I said from the beginning, don't take it personally. It might seem that I am mad. I am not aware as mad. Now, each of you are spending my money in everybody's district. So, fire departments in your district, police department in your district, street and cemetery, ditch, all of that is in the city of Bastrop. But yet again, I don't hear nothing from nobody sitting up here but the incumbent, Mr. Locke, Mr. Shaw, and Mr. Moore. I have high respect for you all. You have worked upon the three previous mayors, and this is here. Each one of you got homicides in your district, and nobody said a thing. For you newcomer, Mr. President, Mr. Green, it's showtime.
Can I say something, Mr. Anderson?
Yes, sir.
Mayor, did I not come to you the other day? I saw all these homicides. First of all, I empathize with the family. I said doing nothing is it's not an option. Did I not bring that to you the other day?
Absolutely, Mr. Prater.
Mr. President, appreciate it, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
You ain't coming. Get the dogs out. You ain't coming. Get the dogs out. You knew what I'm talking about. You newcomer, Mr. President, Mr. Green, get the dogs out. They here, and they ready. I know they ready. It ain't about I'm silent. I ain't mean to do it. Look at the crime these young folks. They're riding hot bikes, riding around with these backpacks with them hot pistols in it. We had a program here by the city police department where every bicycle should be registered. And then when you pull it over and you know it's been scratched out in the serial number, you know it's a hot. Let's get that back in the folks. Let's stop some of this killing, this burglary, this hardcore criminal. Look down at Eden Apartment in Morehouse Garden. I heard last month they had the state police, sheriff department, and the city down there stopping folks from coming in and checking folks coming out. Stop babysitting them criminals. It's time to change the baby diapers. I don't mean no harm, no. I don't mean no harm, gentlemen. But when the last person on there 5 years old, and some other foolishness that happened the other day about a child getting raped, the mama get on there talking about her ex-boyfriend, who is it? Well, I can call it. I ain't scared of it. I don't start no fight. I ain't gonna run from that. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Mayor, I'm gonna get back to the dogs out. Let's find a place to send them somewhere. You can shut down the city jail. That's why they're acting a donkey. Stop playing with them criminals. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for the order. Thank you very much.
Mr.
But
Anderson.
the dogs out up in here.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you. And we appreciate your comments. Let me state something. Chief, can you come forward? Chief, can you come forward, please? Do we have anything for, did you get the handout? They have them? Okay. I asked the police department to give us a report on the unsolved murders, and I would hope that you all would stay. I hope that you all would stay. If you all would stay, I wish you would. We invite you to stay and listen at if you're interested in what we're really doing. Thank you. I'm going to talk, thank you. Would you stay? Would you all please stay? We want you to stay so we can get information, because that's the trouble, we don't have information. I asked the chiefs to run a report to go back 10 years and give us some data on the true record of Bastrop. We talk about these murders as though we're insensitive and we don't have anything to do. I lost a friend, Mr. Lally. I tutored him. He graduated in 2012. I've got the Facebook conversations where he messaged me, and I'm not going to share everything that we talked about, but he loved his children, and when this happened, I sent Chief Campbell, I said, "Is this who was killed?" And he said, "Yes." Within minutes of that, he called me that early morning, and I sent him a screenshot of this, and my heart was broken because in our private conversations, all he talked about was turning around his life, and I talked with Mr. Pierre about him, and he expressed a love for his children. So don't tell me, Mr. Anderson or anybody else, that I know these people, I know these families, and it affects me personally, and I'm sure it affects this council. We're not a bunch of insensitive people, and our police department are not a bunch of Keystone cops. We have a very capable police department. We have recruited. The first thing that I did when I got into office was to say we're going to expand our recruitment and retention of officers. We not only want to recruit them, we want to keep them. Now, this is of grave importance to the people of Bastrop. So we went to Grambling State University. Is that true, Chief? Yes. And we entered a partnership with Grambling State University that we would recruit there. I asked the question, where do you recruit? I asked this gentleman and the chief in office, and I consider this a chief also. Great training officer, super assistant chief. And I said, where do we get officers from? What are we doing? Well, we're advertising enterprise. And I asked you some tough questions that are not cheap. I said, you satisfied with that? And well, it's it's our legal publication. Who do you think, is who we want a reader? So I said, we're going to expand that so we can get up to full strength. So the first thing we did, we went to Graham State University and met with Dr. Joyce Montgomery Scott and the dean of the university, of the School of Criminal Justice, Dr. Singh, and we had several hours meeting. Is that true? I took Mr. Willie Parker, who is the mayor's advisor on public safety, and we had an agreement with them, and I believe that's probably paid off with recruitment, so I'm told. Yeah, we had several. We wanted our community to have a strong police department. We want 5 people on a shift. And so not only did we do that, just this past council meeting, we, to get more people to apply so that we can have more policemen, we spent $7,000. Is that true, Miss? I sit up here and made the case with these fine gentlemen to spend $7,000 so we can have online application for police and fire. We want our fire rating up to a 2, but more importantly, we want the people of Morehouse, of Bastrop, Louisiana, and Fire District Number 2 to be the best protected people in the world. So we are doing everything we can to get our fire department. We're almost up to full strength now. We bought a $300,000 fire truck. We got another fire truck in the works, a snorkel truck that we've applied for a grant on that we should have in March. Yeah, We applied for a grant for 3 more police cars that we gotten approved. We're waiting on an audit, our audit to be complete, and the south end of this building has been in violation of standards for handicap accessibility for a number of years. We're spending $34,000 on that south end so we can get our grants approved. That's the hold up on our grants. And the very day after we left Grambling State University, the biggest program that they have is criminal justice. I want to applaud Chief Campbell and Chief Evans on the work that they did at Grambling and the relationship that we established. They were over there again for a job fair. Is that true, Chief? 2 job fairs since then. So don't tell me what we're not doing. You come to these meetings and you call us and we'll tell you what we're doing. Don't tell us that we're not concerned about the people that we love in this community. Don't prejudge us and you don't come to meetings and find out what we're doing. Just today, I was in a meeting with the gentleman that ran Green Oaks Detention Center down there. He started out over here on Briscoe at the home with Mr. Flowers, right across from the Bond House. I met him back then. He's got a degree in criminal justice from ULM and a master's degree from Grambling State University in criminal justice. And he was up here talking about prevention. How do we prevent? How do we get to these kids? Okay, I flew to Palm Springs, California. I was asked to speak at a national dropout prevention by Clemson University 3 weeks ago. Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday I spent there on solutions. We offer free GEDs here that we pay for. Anyone who wants a high set. So don't tell me what we're not doing. We're doing more than any of you right here to solve the problem. So don't come and accuse us without hearing us. Now, if you tell us we don't love Bastrop, when I was at the barbershop today at Raw Cuts, I looked at the people of Bastrop and I said to myself, what great people we have. So don't prejudge Bastrop, because I know what a quality community we have. 99.999% of the people are loving people, hardworking people, and are great people, and I don't want to live anywhere else in the world. Chief, I asked you to produce these numbers. Can you go over this? This is homicide. You can get a copy of this if you want, press, if you're here. But I asked the chief to give us a count, and I only went back 10 years, Mr. Anderson. I apologize. I did not go back 19 years because those cold cases, they are very cold, and I hope that they're solved. If we had more money, if taxpayers were willing to give us more money, we could, do more forensically, I'm sure. But Chief, go on and speak to this, please. Homicides.
We've had 2 homicides last week. Those cases are still actively being investigated, plus this year's not over yet, so they weren't included in the statistics. From 2010 to 2016, last year, it's a 7-year period, we've had 9 homicides in a 7-year period, 2010 to 2016. We solved 6 of them. 3 are still unsolved. That's a clearance rate of 67% clearance rate of homicides. The national average is only 61% clearance rate. So we're 7 points above the national clearance rate average of homicide. The biggest city we have in our state is New Orleans. New Orleans' clearance rate is only 42%. So we're safer because we have a higher clearance rate of homicides. We can't solve every one of them, but we have a higher clearance rate. Then you're also safer because we have a less per capita homicide rate for our population. They use 100,000 people as their...
So homicides per 100,000.
Homicides per 100,000. So the highest in the nation is St. Louis, it's at 59. So let's go to our cities. New Orleans, 41.7 out of 100,000. Monroe, 36.2 out of 100,000. Baton Rouge, 26. Houma, 20. Bastrop, we have to extrapolate from 12,000, that's all our population is, to 100,000, would give us 16.7. Monroe's double that. New Orleans, a little bit over double. So we're safer because we have a higher clearance rate of homicides and we have a lower per capita homicide rate. Now, I do agree with Mr. Anderson, we do have an issue with property crime, theft and burglary, but homicide is not one.
Can I say something, Mayor?
Yes, sir, Mr. Anderson.
Homicide, the names you can clear off the road, officer, chief.
How many what?
These names I just mentioned a while ago, they've been solved.
Thinking back from 1998, yes, the ones you had on your list were unsolved homicides, but you didn't read any of the solved homicides.
That's why I'm asking the question. The police department will never tell us what sign is solved. People are still under the impression, all these folks right here have not been solved.
But we don't call every person in the city and tell them that the crime has been solved, but we call the family members and tell them.
So I see out of these, Chief, I see, and it's our duty to arrest, correct?
Yes, sir.
And the courts from there, the district attorney's office and the courts do the rest.
Yes, sir.
So I see in 2011, and we had one in 2011, 2 in 13, 2 in 14, 2 in 15, 2 in 16. I see arrest, arrest, no arrest, arrest, no arrest, arrest, no arrest, arrest, arrest. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 7 out of the 9, 6 out of the 9 we had arrest in, which is 66 and 2/3%. Well, Chief, would you have loved to have an arrest in every one of those cases?
Yes, sir. I do.
Okay. Is there anything that the Bastrop Police Department is doing to be slack on investigating? Are we investigating to the extent of all of our resources?
We actively and aggressively investigate every homicide. I don't see what more we can do. We can't manufacture evidence. Some cases, I would never say any case is unsolvable, but some are almost. There's just little to no evidence left at the scene of the crime, and little to no witnesses or someone to speak to it. The ones that we do have, we close those cases.
Is there a problem of people that might have knowledge coming forward? Is there a problem of people that might have knowledge not coming forward?
I wouldn't say it's a problem. I would say it does happen on occasion. I would say that some people know more than they tell us, but I wouldn't say it was a problem.
Well, I mean, an impediment to solving crime. If people would talk more.
The police are only one piece of the puzzle. The public is the larger piece of the puzzle. There's more of them, and they know more.
Mr. Anderson mentioned apartments. We've gotten complaints from a certain apartment complex, and I asked the chief, and you're aware of it, to go down and meet with that apartment complex. And in that meeting, the manager raked the chief over the coals about how we weren't doing things. And Chief Campbell, to his credit, said, well, we need you to do something. We can't just ride down the street and say, oh, you're over here, you're sitting out here on this, and you're shooting dice in the street, get in a car. Okay, we can't just do that to people. The people have rights. But if the manager would say, that guy there shooting dice, the one on his knees, is trespassing. He's not a resident, and he's not visiting anyone here. And according to our curfew, he needs to go to jail. If they sign off on it, what would happen?
If they advise that person to leave and they don't leave, then that's trespassing.
Yes.
We can't enforce their regulations for their apartment complex, because that's not, we enforce the law, not their rules. So if they don't allow them there, we can just go and arrest them just because they're there. But if they tell them, you're not supposed to be here, leave, and they don't leave, then we can arrest them.
So the burden is not just on the police, it should be on property management, it should be on the residents of those apartments, okay? So if there's 64 units in an apartment, and there might be 10 apartments that might be trouble. And then the management company can't just say, y'all get out, because you're creating problems, and they have rules where they write up, people for different infractions on the thing. It's more complex than the Bastrop Police Department, and there is plenty of blame to go around. But we need apartment management people to do what they're supposed to do, to enforce their own rules, and to partner with us to clean up areas that need to be cleaned up. We need the general public who know things to call the police and report. There's Crime Stoppers. But do we get enough Crime Stopper calls? People talk about it and get on Facebook and just, try to wear us out, try to drag us, throwing shade. But
We do get Crime Stopper calls, but I would hope for more.
yes, we do want more. If you want this to be a safer community, we need your help. There are people out there who killed some of these people. There are people who know, but they won't come forward. And we can't just go down, even if we believe that someone did it, we have to have probable cause. But thank you, Mr. Anderson. We do appreciate your concern, sir. And,
I didn't know I was still on the agenda. I thought.
no, I was thanking you. You asked if you could say something, and we're very open here. We don't shut you down. But to accuse us,
No, I did not do that, sir.
to,
Don't let me like this.
not a problem, Mr. Anderson. Not a problem. Not a problem. Let's go on. Thank you for your input, Mr. Anderson. But if anyone implies that Mr. Lawley, I loved him like a nephew, and we communicated. I've got it here. So don't tell me I wasn't sad. I met him when he called, and I called this man right here to help him, Mr. Pierre, and Mr. Pierre helped him, and he was working at DG Foods, and he was expressing, if I could get his family's permission, I'd re-release these conversations, because they talked about love for his children and how he was trying to set an example in his community. So I can't recognize you. I'm sorry. You want to? Oh, please. I don't know whether your son ever, but if you want to see these conversations, I'll make them available to you. But he talked about the change in his life, and he talked about how he wanted to. He said, Mr. Kyle, I'm not going to do anything wrong anymore. He asked me to speak to this man right here, because he had court, and you're welcome to see that. But I want you to know it. Your son was a loving guy. He called me when he needed something, and I tried to accommodate him. I don't know who the guy was riding with him, but, I met him on Cypress Street once. He wanted $40 to get his child something, okay? You get what I'm saying? So don't tell me I don't love these children. We love our children here. They're great kids. And Lolly was a great young man. He had a very good future. He graduated Bastrop in 2012. And, I couldn't be any more hurt than if he was blood kin. Let's go on. I'm sorry, gentlemen. I did not mean to get carried away here. Okay. 12. Mr. Chris Mayberry. Thank you all for coming. And please come back. Okay. And Mother, please get in touch with me. Would you ask her, please? Yeah, okay, thank you. Mr. Chris, how you doing? Okay.
Mr. Mayor, council members, speaking on an issue that has been addressed here a few times before, and you kind of spoke on it when first gentleman came up with it. The $30 an hour for police security from 10 p.m. till whatever time the establishment closes. That stifles business. It's very difficult for a new business to exist with $240 per weekend going out before they even get it in. Now, it's understandable that, you know, the city needs, you know, the neighborhood needs protection, and it is an established fact that in the past, certain clubs, certain areas had problems. But during the last few months of us taking possession of that establishment, we have made sure, and multiple, quite a few of you have noticed and know yourself, that our place is truly different than what it once was. And by saying that, and even by what you said earlier, the law's not gonna be changed right now. But isn't there something called like an amendment to a law that can be created to at least push that time back and or reduce the amount that has to be paid? And with the situation currently with the Bastrop Police Force, it's just pretty much ridiculous to expect 2 officers to sit at a nightclub for 4 hours when there's only 3 on duty. I mean, we have enough issues going on. That's just ridiculous. I mean, now, I understand the need for security at a nightclub or at an establishment where alcohol is being served, but in the same token, what happened 10 years ago happened 10 years ago. What happens now is what's happening now. Because of the clientele of a location, the merit of that location, the things that have been done to prove that this is not the same, it's not the OK Corral any longer, should be taken into consideration, and some kind of adjustment or consideration really has to be given. Because we might as well change the name of our place to Bastrop City Police. Because you guys will make, well, them guys will make all of our money. We're not making anything.
Yes. We do appreciate you coming. You do realize that if we did it for one club, then the next club could come and operate down the street and be that rowdy club that stretches every resource that we have. You realize that if there was an ordinance change, that it would not apply just to you, but it would apply to anyone who would say, hey, let's go and open up a club, a certain type of club in Bastrop, because we can go till 1 o'clock without any, or 2 o'clock without any security, and with only 3 policemen on duty. Do you feel that the Bastrop Police Department could come and focus attention on that club if there was a shooting, if there was a fight, an altercation, then, you know, our people would come in? Tell me what your feeling is about that.
Well, one of the police department's already being paid for what they do. It's not guaranteed in any place that an altercation is gonna occur.
Right.
I believe that if it can't be a blanket type situation, at least it's a situation given a merit.
Okay.
The things that have occurred within the city happens at certain locations with certain.
So are you saying that there should probably be some kind of flexible ordinance that would reward the good clubs that doesn't ever have any trouble and progressively penalize those that are creating problems until they would have to have more, 2 or more security to stay open? Are you saying that, say, an adult club that plays, you know, older music and people are doing the electric slide rather than people who might be the kinds of people who are, yeah, dropping and you know, and yeah, yeah.
I'm not gonna say reward the older establishment, but to give credit.
No, they're better behaving. I wasn't trying to put age. I wasn't really attempting to put age, but better behaving group, whether they're young or old. So a club with better behaved people who are there rather than people who are fighting. you know, that will require complex ordinance. You have something to say, Mr. Prater?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
To their defense, let me say, I was in the club business. And your clientele spells everything. I've been to these guys' establishment, and they have an older crowd. You're
In
not
fact-
gonna,
in
you're not
fact,
gonna
we
have
went
no
to-
problem down there.
We went together, did we
We
not?
went together, and I've been since then. And I was in the club business for 4 years. Your clientele, and I didn't have not one fight. Your clientele will determine that. So we talk about helping people in small business. We're gonna have to do something to help these people. They can't make money and pay security at the same time. I don't see them needing security down there. They got 70 and 80-year-old guys down there just enjoying themselves. What you need security for?
Well, do the police department have to be there? Because the ordinance say a post-certified security officer. So do the police officers got to be there?
The way it's written, the way the ordinance is written now, if they stay open 1 second after midnight, is that correct, Ms. Goldman? I mean, Mr. Pierre, I'm sorry, Attorney Pierre.
That's correct.
Yeah, sorry about that, Mr. Pierre.
You have 1 second after midnight with armed police.
No, you have to go back to 10 o'clock. If you stay open past the stroke of midnight, then you're required to have security from 10 o'clock
Security.
to that.
But do it have to be,
Security
or
or
do it have to be a police officer? Right.
Well,
required or
the,
mandated
the,
police?
Mr. Locke,
It has to be someone that has arrestability.
Yeah, it don't have
have to
police.
be able to arrest people.
It don't have to be the city of,
As an individual to be able to arrest someone, only being a police officer?
Chief, can you answer that?
Commissioned police officer, post-certified officer, it could be a deputy or a police officer.
And it could be a sheriff's deputy also, right? Okay. And,
Off duty. Off-duty officer.
You wouldn't double pay them.
no.
Then what is the issue, what is the purpose of a security person?
You mean a security person who can't arrest?
An armed security person,
Who can't arrest people?
yeah, I mean,
you do have some security places that are equipped to make arrests. You might need to look into them.
And that's a post-certified person, is that correct, Chief, probably?
Talking about security personnel from a security company, they don't have arrest ability.
They don't have arrestability.
But that would be something the board could change of our ordinance. Change that word from commissioned police officer, if that's how it states, to security guard.
So we could study this, Mr. Prater, Mr. Moore, do you have any comment on this, sir?
Well, I agree with what Chief Evans said, you know, I think we need to look into that and maybe do change it to, you know, if they got
Okay.
certification, you know, so
Mr.
I'm
Didi,
open to that.
What are you open to looking at this?
Oh, I'm definitely open to looking at
Mr.
it.
Shaw?
I'll look at it.
Okay, Mr. Locke? Okay,
The police department, here's what Mr. Rich was saying, and we say his,
Maybe.
Mayberry is saying it is logical to consider what he's saying is true.
yes, because it is almost impossible to make money paying $240 out. Yeah. Yes, yes.
Okay.
So are we in agreement that we'll look at this? Go ahead.
with the holidays coming up,
Oh,
I mean.
well,
now-
we can't do it. Yeah,
Fast lane, we can't fast lane it.
We've been over this multiple times. This is not the first time this has come up. We've asked multiple times for this. Is there any kind of arrangement, consideration that can be given or done to, you know, to allow, I mean, you're stifling our business. We're able to make, we were trying to open other businesses, but they can't happen with us not even able to make this one successful.
well, in order to change anything, we'd have to go through a process. Is that true, Mr. Pierre and Ms. Goldman? Ms. Goldman, you've been here through 5 mayors,
He's
and I
right.
don't know how many councilmen.
You'd have to change the ordinance, Mayor, or make some adjustments to the ordinance.
And then we'd have to make an announcement, right? And then that announcement, and then, see, there's a protocol. We can't just, even if we all wanted to do it right now, the law will not allow us to do it right now.
How long does it take for rules and laws to make change? I mean, if you can
Well, I'm going to ask that each councilman be supplied with the ordinance. Jay, can you take care of that with Mr. Pierre to make sure that, Mr. Pierre, if you can get that ordinance to Jay?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. and Jay will distribute it to the councilman. Anything else you want to say, Mr. Pierre?
It's in the charter, Mr.
Well,
Mayor.
I guess here's the thing. I would make the effort to call each alderman.
Okay.
Get your thoughts on how
Okay.
you'd like this ordinance to be fashioned. I've heard from the business owner. I understand where we're going with it. I'll reach out to you individually, and I'll get something together.
Is that
In
satisfactory?
accordance to what the general consensus is, what you all trying to do.
Yes.
I mean, on the flip side of that, we still have to consider the citizens who are saying, we want to be protected while we're in the club, which is the current state of the ordinance now.
Right.
I
Right.
do understand the business owner, but there's a
Other
social
side.
aspect of it as well. We just heard some families and
Right.
some individuals, Mr. Anderson speaking on crime.
Right.
And we on the flip side coming in saying we want to ease up on regulations in order to help the business owner, but there's a criminal aspect that's in place as well. That's why the ordinance is in place now. So I'll reach out to you individually.
What are we gonna do when we lose somebody at a club because somebody got in a fight and
After-
It's been done
after
when
midnight.
Somebody is lost
But-
and they get into a fight in Eden at the park.
But what I'm saying is, if it will most likely be prevented if you have security and the right kind of security.
Not necessarily.
Well-
Currently, if there's only 3 officers on duty, I doubt seriously, if one of them 3 officers is gonna be at that exact spot at the exact right time to stop that murder.
Well, Mr. With all due respect, when people consume alcohol for 3 or 4 hours, the likelihood of drunk drivers increase, the likelihood of somebody losing their head increase. I think we can all agree on that, correct?
And you gotta keep in mind, if you know there's a cop sitting outside, you're not gonna stagger down those stairs. If you know there's a cop sitting outside, you're not gonna take this dude outside and beat him down. I mean,
Well,
it's common
well, we can't afford to station 1 of 3 cops at a club to make sure that when people walk down the stairs at 2 a.m., that they are not staggering and going to go and run over somebody or kill themselves. So, the fact is that alcohol contributes to problems, and we know that. That's settled.
But don't you think then that there should be police officers on duty in front of each one of these
No.
gas stations that sell alcohol?
They're not consuming it on premise. They can't even open it.
yes, they are.
Well, no,
Oh,
I'm
yes,
saying,
they
but
are.
there are open container
Oh, yes,
laws.
they are.
You're saying that people are going to these quick
Convenience
stops
stores.
and
Yes,
they're
sir.
outside drinking the liquor.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
They're standing in the public,
Yes, sir.
outside.
Yes, sir.
Well, I think that, Mr. Prater, you need to start calling the police
Yes, sir.
when you see that.
My thing is, they wasn't gonna sell liquor on Sundays, but when a certain clientele move in here, all of a sudden they changed the rule. Let's help this guy. Let's help this business.
No,
That clientele moved into the area, the laws changed.
They changed.
instantly for them.
And once they go in the club business, it's gonna change.
We're here, we've been here.
Yeah, it's gonna change.
It's the same thing done for years.
No.
Nothing has happened.
what we're trying to do is balance public safety with accommodating you, sir. We're not closed-minded when it comes to trying to accommodate. Yeah,
What I'm saying is dollar-minded.
yeah.
You know how much tax money that other business draws versus what we are able to draw. That other business is gonna get what it wants.
You mean because they're paying sales taxes and
They're paying city tax.
city taxes, sales taxes and that? Yeah, they do benefit the city. Yeah, there's no question about it, but I don't think that, yeah. Well, we want to accommodate you as best we can in the light of public safety, and whatever these gentlemen come up with, they're the lawmakers, these 5 gentlemen that you see, okay? And I will, I'll have limited power. If 3 of them vote for something, I can veto or something like that, but if 4 votes, then it's a done deal. And I don't, they're so open-minded until, if they come up with something in fashion, and I'm sure I won't oppose what they come up with. Mr. Pierre is going to do that. Mr. Pierre is committed to already do it. He's very efficient. He doesn't waste time. So he's going to do it and get with each councilman and get their ideas. And he's very creative. This gentleman is very creative.
Will we have to wait till next meeting, or can we
Oh.
reach out to one of you guys and get some kind of definitive answer on this?
It gets impossible. We have to wait until the next meeting and start the process in the next meeting. I'm sorry, but Christmas is probably going to catch you. Okay?
It's gonna catch us. I mean,
Okay.
we'll probably be out of business before this.
Or do we tell these people that when they come apply for the license, do they tell them all the laws and everything before they grant them a license?
Tell, you mean,
Like the
you
restriction.
mean like a club?
My other statement was this.
Did you all know that the law before you open the club?
We knew that getting a liquor license is not a privilege. We knew that you guys were giving it to us as.
I'm saying, did you know that clubs close? I mean, that if you were open after midnight, were you informed that if you opened past midnight, you had to do the thing?
Yes, and we've also been informed.
And you still opened?
Yeah, I was also informed that I could petition my city council members to change an unjust, what I feel is an unjust law, as long as I have others around me that feel the same.
Well, we're very open, and these gentlemen are open-minded. So we'll just start the process. But we can't fast-track this. The law won't allow us to call a meeting next week and approve it. We have to, when we change laws, there's a process. There's a time requirement that we have to state that we're going to do things, and then we have to give the public a chance to comment on it. Because it's not just these 5 gentlemen. The public can then say, I don't like that. This club's next door to my house, and I don't want it open.
When we opened up, we had to post signs on our door, 15 days, as well as running ads.
We understand that.
Before we opened, stating that we were opening this bar and what we were opening as. During that time, isn't that when the surrounding area should post their complaints to stop us from doing what we were doing?
Well, they didn't stop you from doing what you were doing as long as you had security pass if you went 1 second past midnight, which you knew that you had to have. And you knew what the law said before you opened it. So those people were not objecting to you operating as the law states. But what you're doing, you're asking for the law to change, and they have a right to object again. They have a right to call these gentlemen and say, I don't want this to happen. People are watching this broadcast right now, and some of them might be saying, I don't want the law changed. Well, we have to listen at them too. That's why we have to allow for public comments. That's why we have comments on things that when this comes up, if these gentlemen decide to change the law, change the ordinance, then somebody might come up and say, I don't want this to happen. We have to listen at that. They're going to state their reasons, and it might influence these gentlemen's vote, even after they fashion something that they're comfortable with. So there are no guarantees. We have to start the process, and I'm asking Mr. Pierre to start the process, and I have every confidence that he knows how to do litigation. I mean, this man's been to best university in America to learn litigation and how to try to stand happy. But our time is up. Okay. But thank you so much. And I'll be over to watch Law and Order with you probably this weekend. Thanks a lot. Don't sit on his couch, because you'll watch 3 episodes of Law and Order like I did a few weeks ago. Thank you, sir. Number 13, reappoint members of Planning and Zoning Commission. Oh, my goodness, we should have put this first. Mr. Ernie Smith. I'm so sorry. Hello, Mr. Rogel. I did not see you, sir. Great. Ernie Smith? Were they here earlier? Okay. Janice, Ms. W?
That's right.
She's
I
here?
think she's here. No, sir.
No, okay. Ms. Joanne Young?
I didn't see her either.
Okay. This was to reappoint members of the Planning and Zoning Commission, reappoint members of the Bastrop Zoning Board of Adjustments, and reappoint members of the Bastrop Historic District. And I believe that they're willing to serve.
Yes,
Is
sir,
that correct?
they've already served and they're willing to continue.
Okay.
But their term is up, but they will serve again.
Okay. So what is the process, real quick? So we have the option of getting somebody else?
That's true.
And who makes those appointments and selections?
You, and they vote on it.
Okay, all right. Gentlemen, what's your pleasure Do you all want to handle this now?
Mayor, those individuals still want to serve.
We don't know, but we don't know if we have others that want to serve on these particular boards either.
Well, it's hard to get people to volunteer. Very hard to get people to volunteer and show up.
See, we was
And I
aware of
believe
this.
that they have a history of showing up. and be-
Right, they are, they've
Yes.
been very faithful.
Very
One
faithful,
of them's
yes.
been on since the
So
existence
I would
of the
recommend
commission.
that we exercise 13, 14, and 15. Can we get one, or you want to take those
I'll
separate?
make them make,
I'll make the motion.
Okay.
So we're through three. Got it.
So it's been moved simultaneously by Mr. Shaw, Mr. Locke, and Mr. Moore that we lump these into three and approve, reappoint all. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
Is this acceptable?
Yes, sir.
Okay, then 13, 14, and 15 are approved, and we have those people reappointed. Resolution 17-1743, a resolution of the Mayor and Board of Aldermen of the City of Bastrop, Louisiana, to authorize the execution of an agreement between Louisiana Spatial Reference Center and Louisiana State University Agricultural Mechanical College. You all have a handout with a little saucer-shaped deal, this right here, this one. You guys got this?
Yes.
Mr. Moore, you got this? That's an antenna. It's a georeference antenna. Mr. Floyd, can you come to the microphone for just a second? You can turn the camera over on yourself if you want to. Okay. Mr. Ernest Floyd is an expert at technology. And Mr. Floyd, this handout says, what is station to serve as official active control spot for on the earth that engineers, surveyors, and floodplain mappers will use as a 3D reference. And they give some examples here. Mr. Floyd, go ahead.
What it's going to do is, it's working on 12 satellites. Every time a satellite passes over Bastrop, they're taking 3D images of everything geographical. But they have to have some reference point
On the ground.
to know each location. And it's part of their geographical information system and their spatial system. So where you see this is when you go into any map on any smartphone, that's how they know as they're pinging where you are, they're triangulating where you are. They're going beyond triangulation. They're using 12 satellites to pinpoint and map all of our area accurately. And then what they're doing is going around Louisiana and they're hanging those antennas. The more antennas you have, the more accurate the location is. Where they can map you down to a foot or 2 foot when you put in a mapping location. And it's 3-dimensional so that they can pick up elevation and buildings and lakes. And it's cost us nothing.
Yes, and what it does, yes, sir. It, as an example, our farmers, they're getting georeference for their tractors, their fields are being mapped, and they can turn a tractor loose and it'll plow the field. You plow it one time and it'll retract. So the more of these stations, as Mr. Floyd is saying, so it has tremendous use to us. Plus, it puts us on the map. As, I'd like to see driverless cars try out here in Bastrop. I'm serious. I'm serious. I'm dead
Henry,
serious.
you're going too far.
Yes, I'm
Henry, you're
asking,
going too far in technology.
I'm trying to get
You're
them
going
to
too
come
far in technology
and
now.
try. They need all size cities, Mr. Prater.
You're going overboard.
Yes.
Actually, the mayor is absolutely right. It is part of the driverless car system. That is
Yes.
part of
Yeah, and we want this to be one of the towns
ready
that
for
they
that yet.
do. Get on board, Mr. Prater. Well, this is LSU, and we have an agreement, and we're asking you for the authority to, what all they're going to do is hang one of these things here up, and you picked out the roof, the gentleman from LSU came.
They're gonna pay to put in the electrical system, they're gonna pay for everything, maintain it, they give us a whole harvest. We're helping them and they're helping the public.
Okay.
So we got Big Brother watching us again. Huh?
Yes, sir.
It's free, he said.
We're part of Big
Oh,
Brother.
as long as it's free, I go along with it. I got to look out for my constituents. I got to count my money.
Thank you. Okay, gentlemen, thank you,
All right,
Mr.
Mayor, I move that we accept their,
Second.
Okay, so it's been moved by Mr. Shaw, second by Mr. Locke, that Resolution 17-1743 be adopted. Is there any discussion? All in favor? All opposed? The resolution passes. Item 17. Resolution 17-1744, a resolution of the Mayor and Board of Aldermen of the City of Bastrop, Louisiana, to authorize the execution of a professional engineering and surveying service agreement between Boyd Homes Engineering Incorporated for the Martin Luther King Street South Bridge over Stalking Creek, the pup ditch as we know it. LADOTD State Project Number 713-0107, BHE Project Number 17-0202. Ms. Goldman.
Mayor, this actually project started many, many, many years
Right.
ago. And at the time when they did it, they wanted the map in metrics. The state of Louisiana Department of Transportation has money earmarked for this project. It fell through the cracks for whatever reason.
Right.
And now the standards has changed. And the map that was done is now needs to go back in the local standards, in the English measurements.
So here is the plan for the bridge over Martin Luther King. So there are many, many pages of this, and it's all engineering specs. And so this bridge was how much, Ms. Goldman?
It was over $1 million.
Over $1 million to build. And it's been 19 years when this project was approved. And the city of Bastrop has not moved for one reason or another. There's going to be some property that's got to be acquired because the right-of-way has to be widened, going right across the pup ditch, and it's going to affect some families' property. But I've talked with one of the major families several months ago because I thought that we owe it to the people to research this and see if we should get this done. This is part of, let me just read the first part. It's the State of Louisiana Department of Transportation and Development Federal Aid Off-System Highway Bridge Program. And my fear is that if we don't replace the bridge has been there for years and years and years and years. Mr. Locke.
Man, it's a no-brainer. If the state is going to come in and help pay for this.
Yes.
And I also talked to some of the residents in that area. They are all in favor for it. I think we just need to go ahead and pass it and move on.
Thank you, Mr. Locke. Okay. Well, here's a catch. Ms. Goldman said that these plans where you see millimeters, centimeters, and meters and all of that, every one of these has to be changed and recalculated to the English system, inches, sixteenths and eighths, 1/3, eighths and whatever. And it's going to cost us $100,000, roughly. Well, how
now,
much?
the city had to foot that whole bill?
Yes, sir. Is that
I
correct?
think the engineering, we're going to be responsible because the state paid for those
Yes.
and
We
the
didn't
ball
ask.
was dropped.
Right.
So now we're going to have to pay to have that done.
Yes.
Plus acquiring it. I will add too, in those plans, it is going to be a walkway there too.
Yeah, it's a 6-foot walkway in that plan. I
Yeah,
read
so
that
people,
today.
yes, sir, so people don't have to walk with the
On the bridge.
cars on the bridge. It's a very high-tech bridge, and if we don't do it, as Mr. Locke said, you said it's a no what, Mr. Locke?
No-brainer.
No-brainer.
So,
Okay.
Because the bridge going to fall in eventually.
David Creed and North Delta can't help us with that. They don't have the capacity to.
No, this is a high-quality engineering firm that the state approves, and they've got a resume like you wouldn't believe, and if board touches it, the state knows that every I is dotted, every T is crossed, and they're probably, if not the best firm for this in Louisiana. So I'm satisfied. Now, here's the head. Can you come up, Mr. Messenger, sir?
Is there a time frame?
Yes, sir. We met with Miss Lenore. When what's his name?
November the 6th, conference call.
Yes, we had a conference call with the state because before bringing it to you, I wanted to make sure that if we paid this $100,000, that the state was still going to do the bridge. You know, I didn't want to take a chance and bring something to you and it costs $100,000, then you guys be saying, where, old Henry.
Yeah, old Henry,
Yeah.
you doing the money.
Yeah, right.
I got the answer to my question.
So we talked with DOTD yesterday, the gentleman in charge, and he said if we can get it done, then it'll be in 2018, 19.
It'll be 19.
Yeah,
Yeah, 2019. And this whole thing's going to be in stages?
The
You-
plans has to come, from acquiring the land and the plans.
Yes.
has to
So
come
the
forward.
first thing we have to do is acquire the land before we spend the $100,000. So I'm qualifying this approval that we're asking for, that we're only going to proceed with the re-engineering, redrawing of the plans, provided we can get the land. And so we can't have the board company do that because we hadn't engaged them. But we have an answer right here. We need to be able to identify how much land, where the line is going to be,
And where, who?
and so we can negotiate with the families that own the property and say, here's this string right here, this line, and that's why I called Mr. Messenger. Mr. Messenger, how you doing, sir?
Great.
Great, Jeff. We appreciate you coming and staying all this time. I'm sure you had some other plans. Okay, okay. Yes, sir. We'll try to put you, okay. But we ask you to come, and before we can do anything, we need to know where the lines are. So I asked Mr. Messenger for the homeboy discount, okay? You know, he's right up the street here. And
What discount?
the homeboy discount. Yeah.
Waiting on the bomb.
So Mr. Messenger's worked with us on several things. He's done everything we've asked him to do, from locating when we were out doing the sewer thing, from being out in the field with Mr. Isaac Gray and myself. Is that right, Mr. Gray? Mr. Messenger was Johnny on the spot, and he, well, I won't go into that. But he was there out in the fields with us, over the creeks and under the creeks, and spotting stuff and GPS stuff. And this will make your stuff more accurate, right? The thing we did today? Yes, sir. I asked Mr. Messenger to look at the plans. He's looked at the plans, and with your permission, I'm going to give him these plans tonight if you approve his work. Approximately, you looked at this along with your dad. This, yes. And you guys you quoted me a good homeboy price in my opinion, but these are the guys who control whether or not we can do it. So you guys want to ask Mr. Messenger anything other than the price?
I'm just concerned about the price.
To do that, you're looking at acquiring 4 pieces of right away to do the 4 flats, the restrictions, everything you need, it'd be $2,500.
No-brainer.
No brainer.
No brainer.
I'll make a move.
Okay.
I second it.
So moved that we hire Mr. Messenger to do this. Is there any discussion?
Nah.
None. No discussion. All in favor?
Ah.
For some reason, I expected more of a tussle with this. Okay.
Wait, Mayor.
Aren't y'all getting comp time for this?
Well, no,
No, I'm just, okay.
You didn't tell me that in the office. So.
Okay, so the next step is to, of course, I'm asking you to approve doing the bridge. Mr. Locke, you said it was a no-brainer, correct?
I did.
So, help me with the motion, help me with the language here. What we asking for is you to approve doing this project, and the project takes steps. And the first step is Mr. Messenger. The second step is acquiring the property. If we don't do that, the project is dead, and we won't spend $100,000. Is that understood?
Right.
And if we can get the property done then the state will go through. So this is, what is it, resolution?
There's not a resolution on,
Yes,
Is
it
it
is
se-
a resolution
17.
17.
17.
Okay, do we have a motion for the resolution? It would, it's understood, the motion that was made is for this whole package, right?
right.
Okay, and who made the motion?
Mr. Locke.
Mr. Locke made the motion, who seconded?
I did, with three of us.
Three, simultaneously by Mr. Moore, Mr. Prater, and Mr. Shaw, Councilman Shaw. Questions? Discussion?
Is there a possibility for the engineering work to get that from another grant? Can you combine these somehow? Possibly?
No, sir, not right now, I don't
No,
know.
I mean, I'm not talking, I mean, we're talking about half a year or so to
mean,
get to where we want to go, probably.
We
Yeah.
can look.
I think it's 300, almost 300 days to get,
It's 255 or something.
255, yeah. And it's in
But-
stages, correct, Mr. Goldman?
Yes, when we
Do we
ask
pay
them-
them in stages?
Well, we'll pay them as they do the work, they'll bill us. I don't
Okay.
know how fast he'll move.
Okay, gentlemen,
That was my
you still with it?
Yeah, right, yeah.
Okay, so moved by Mr. Locke, simultaneous second by Mr. Moore, Mr. Prater, and Mr. Shaw. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Thank
The
you,
ayes have it. Thank you.
appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
This here would qualify to go
Mr.
out of our
Jeffrey.
street money.
Good.
Because it is a street money.
Right.
We don't have it in our general fund.
But we'll,
Let me find
We
it.
can
Let
go
me
out of our
find it.
street money.
Let me find I got a letter with it I want to keep. I'll keep the letter. I'll keep the letter from DOT.
I know it's there somewhere, but I didn't know exactly.
Thank you, sir. Okay, I appreciate it. Okay. 18, resolution 17-1745, a resolution of the Mayor and Board of Aldermen of the City of Bastrop, Louisiana, to authorize the execution of a lease loan agreement between Kubota Leasing for a Kubota track loader. Jay, you are ready with that? This,
Give my word that I will be as brief as possible. Bastrop has a lot of light, an awful lot, and the mayor has a comprehensive plan to eradicate. Essential to that plan is this Kubota mulcher. There's a video I can play for you all later, but basically it eats up trees, shrubbery. The city of Bastrop has a blight epidemic. Every street you drive on, you see at least one blighted house. It's a danger to the public. It increases vandalism and crime. I'm sure we all know of a lot of abandoned homes that nefarious drug use and all kinds of things happen. And it also reduces local property tax value. So the machine is actually an investment. Currently, we have about $30,000 in the budget to address the light. That does about maybe 10 properties a year. I don't know if everyone saw the old mill site. They cleared it in maybe 3 days, 4 days, 2.
yes.
The current plan that we have does not slow the growth of light. So basically, we're just throwing $30,000 away every year. The machine is a Kubota. It does the work maybe 2 or 3 days at the mill site. It has minimal manpower, so they can work year-round. The cab is air-conditioned and heated, and you get more bang for your buck. End of story. I would suggest that we take that $30,000, invest it in this machine, and clean Bastrop.
Let me ask a question, Jay. USDA funds a lot of these kind of projects, I understand. Now, they didn't let us get part of ours because we had a big fund for our streets, in our street fund. Follow me, Ms. Goldman?
Yes, sir.
We went to USDA and tried to get it, but it didn't work out. But this looks like it's a different slant. This is a way to get there and do what we want to do. The mayor's committed to me that he's going to do that, and I'm sure the rest of
I'll
us.
keep my word to you.
And, but we sure ought to ask the USDA if they couldn't help us.
Grant cycle.
Yeah,
Grant cycle's a problem. We'd have to wait.
but we got to
We'd
wait a long
have
time.
to wait till next year.
Next year. It'll be
Next
this
year,
time next year.
what time next?
This
This
time.
time?
Grant season usually starts in August.
Yeah, we'll have to wait a whole year.
And to be honest, I think between getting this machine in August, we can clean up probably a good bit of Bastrop.
How much training someone's gonna need?
The company provides all the training. It's very easy to use.
Also, when we be able to charge like the homeowners before, when we clean out the lots?
That's a great question.
That is an option.
No,
A lot of times-
we're not doing anything free. We can't do anything free. The adjudicated property that we have, we can clean up.
Yeah.
Is that correct, Ms. Goldman?
Yes, sir.
And we can tag it on to the cost of,
Well, the adjudicated property
it's.
is yours
y-
anyway.
Yeah, right. But if we sell it because it's cleaned up, it's gonna be more attractive. And it will increase the value of the lots. The people who have property and it looks, like a jungle, their house is gone and there's nothing there, then there's a process that Mr. Pierre and Jay are working on. We might have to change an ordinance. Mr. Gray went to Sterlington, is that correct, Mr. Gray? And picked up the Sterlington ordinance, and because they charge, if grass gets to be so, certain high, then yeah. So, in my opinion, it requires us to change ordinance, but, there might be someone from, I don't want to say California, who might own property here that they inherited, they'll never come back, and they'll never do anything about it, and it's just there, and they might send Ms. Goldman a tax check every year for $230. Well, we're going to hold their feet to the fire and give them notice, and not to pick on anybody in California for watching this, but give them notice, and we're going to clean it up, and we're going to put it on their next year tax bill. So I feel that there is enough between what we can collect to substantially pay for this. We're not paying the whole value in 1 year. It's a 5-year lease. We have a 4-year warranty, and that warranty is, my understanding, $250 deductible. If it breaks one of those carbide teeth that are very expensive or something happens, we're covered under a 4-year warranty. At the end of the 5 year, the 5th year, we get it for $1. So we'll have an older piece of equipment. Any more questions?
I had another question. What would be the amortized amount each, would it be by the month or by the year?
I'm not sure.
By the month.
Usually,
It's by the month.
By the month.
It's a
we've
monthly.
done it both ways. So.
And then, right now, we have $30,000 in the budget. So that means, I don't see any reason why that wouldn't change over the next 4 years.
Right, we would just keep.
And,
using that
we
money.
just keep, we'd almost pay for it doing that?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
We'll pay for it in
Yes,
4
sir.
Yeah,
years.
yeah.
And we got a grapple I added a grapple basket, one that grabs an old house, and we can shake it and really kind of tear it down. But,
apart.
yes.
All right, Mayor, I make a motion.
Oh,
Second motion.
okay. It's been moved by Mr. Moore, second by Mr. Shaw, that we enter into this lease agreement as specified in 17-1745. Any questions or comment? Discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Thank you, guys. Gentlemen. Okay. Liquor license, Assistant Chief?
We have 16 renewals for the year 2018.
They do.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
The only issue I see is with number 4, when it says on premises only for city juice packs. I would assume that's a typo. They don't really-
Yes, sir.
Right.
I think that's a typo. It should be off.
So what is your recommendation?
That we renew all 16 of them with that simple change.
I'll make that motion, Mayor.
It's been moved by Councilman Moore,
Second.
second by Councilman Shaw, that we accept that and grant these renewals. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you. I need a motion to expand the agenda for discussion of a hangar situation at the Bastrop Airport.
I make that motion, Mayor.
5 minutes extension, I'll second.
Okay. Mr. Moore made the motion to expand the agenda. Mr. Prater second with stipulation that it doesn't go over 5 minutes. And Mr. Green said he's going to time it.
Got it going right now. You're wasting time.
Okay. Okay. Do we have? Okay. It's been moved and seconded that we expand the agenda. Ms. Goldman, can you poll the members?
Mr. Moore,
Aye.
Mr. Prater,
Yes.
Mr. Shaw,
Aye.
Mr. Green.
Oh, yes.
Mr. Locke,
Yes.
Okay. So the motion to expand the agenda is granted. As you know, we had the failure of Flying Tiger Airport, the school, Flying Tiger Aviation, and we have a hangar at the airport. And right now, the building, we've secured the building. The building was left unsecured for, several months. And we secured the building. And in order to ensure it, we need lights on. We need to turn the lights on in the city of Bastrop's name, and also provide some security out there and, water, right, Ms. Goldman, utilities?
yes, just water and electric.
Water and electric. And I'm asking that the city grant us the permission to turn that on and insure the building, and to give me the authority, give the administration the authority to negotiate with some aircraft owners. I talked with one such owner yesterday, and we could secure enough from that one owner alone to cover the cost to cover our costs for this thing.
I
So,
make that motion, Mayor.
I second that motion.
now, wait a minute, we have more time. We can, Mr. Locke made the motion.
Yeah, 3 minutes.
And Mr. Moore second the motion that the administration be granted, grant us the permission for Ms. Goldman to exercise the utilities and insurance and whatever, and for me to negotiate with some aircraft owners to occupy, to keep their airplanes in there, and in an effort to cover the cost. And I'm confident we can cover 100% of the cost. Is that acceptable? Okay. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. I need a motion to adjourn?
Yes, sir.
Is anyone willing to make the motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
Mr. Green made the motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second by Councilman Shaw.